Hello, Otafest family. Podcasts are being recorded from home offices, and Otafest is still planning community content even if we can't be together physically. We hope you're staying indoors where it's safe and maybe working on your creative projects in the meantime. Right now, I guess this is episode 100. Yay!
Holy crap!
Cow.
Episode
100 whole
100. Who
episodes.
knew?
Yeah, I'm Jay. I've got
I'm Nancy.
Nancy
I'm Angelo.
and Angelo.
I'm not Angelo.
And we
I'm
are
not
here
Nancy.
for episode 100.
I might
a number that I wasn't sure we'd reach. It's been, I think, 3 years of episodes. With you two have joined me intermittently, and before that, it was always Alfred as, co-host, which is great as well. But we
Rip in peace, Alfred.
yeah.
Yep.
100
Rip in
episodes
peace.
isn't technically a lot, but it took us a long time to get here because we used to be on a bi-weekly schedule, and now we're on a weekly, so it really rushed us back up to 100. And not everything has changed, honestly. Like, format has changed a little bit in that time.
We
Certain
stopped holding
small
ourselves to a
things.
schedule and just started going with the flow of BS.
Yes, that's so much. But the most important thing is that we've had a good time recording. So we thank you if you stuck around for the whole 100. If you haven't, that's okay. Maybe this is your first episode and you're just starting from 100. That's totally fine too. But we appreciate you for listening, and we hope that you're staying safe and being entertained indoors at this
Can you
And
imagine if
crazy
this
time.
is someone's first episode?
I feel
Huh.
sort of bad for them because we have.
No, that's great because they have such a backlog to go through.
Yeah, I guess so. But I was just
But would
thinking,
you
like, they have no
would you
context.
listen to the Would you listen to the episodes backwards though? Like
You would never listen to the episodes backwards so much, but again, if this is your first episode, you just might not have a lot of context to work with as to who we are and what we do and what we talk about so much, but that's okay too. At least you're here.
If I were to go back and listen to the old episodes, I would probably listen to the live Otafest podcasts.
The live
Oh,
ones
yeah.
are pretty
And,
crazy.
The one podcast that was recorded around October 17th, 2018, I think?
It's got to be 2018, I think, yeah.
Yeah. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yes. I I guess I don't want to get into this too much, but if I had to
Oh, this is not a nostalgia episode.
If I
I'm
had-
just
yeah.
saying.
But if I had to choose a favorite episode in this whole time, it's probably actually the past Otafest live episode with ProZD, just
Oh,
because
nice.
it was just really stupid. The stuff that
I
we ended up
enjoyed
touching it.
being in the audience of that. That was exceptionally fun for me.
I think it was a really good time. But overall, I think that there's content for anyone in any episode. So, hopefully you settle in and find some stuff that you like. Episode 100. I don't want to get too much about it. The only thing I will say is I'm a little bit sad because we are still practicing social distancing and we are being very responsible. So we don't really get to
So
celebrate.
The best
Responsible.
way to celebrate this would be like with 100 chicken wings or something.
Oh, that'd be
my
great.
god. Could we eat? Do you guys think we could eat 100 chicken wings
Between the three of us,
three of us?
absolutely. Like you
Yeah,
could
I
have
think
10 and
that's
then me
normal.
and Jay could eat the other 45 each.
The most I've
Yeah.
ever had is 60 in a sitting.
60 is my
Ever?
maximum. 60 is
Mhm.
my
Oh
high
wow.
score.
So we would easily do it because I really
No,
don't eat
no,
that
no, no,
much.
no, no, no. You don't easily get to 60, first of all. And with every year that passes, that number is fleeting and reduced in short amounts. Like,
How
Honestly,
long ago?
For me to get
Was
to
it?
45 would be a challenge.
Oh, how long was it that you got to 60? Like,
either
are
of
we
us.
talking like 2 years ago?
It's been at least 5 or 6 years for me.
I want to say it's
Huh.
only been about 3, maybe 2. I think it's 3 years ago. Like, I wouldn't say that I was like gonna die, but it was like one of those times where I was actually really hungry and we were just happening to have a wing night and people couldn't finish theirs and I was just like, fuck it, I'll eat it.
Have
So
you
it
ever
wasn't
been
like,
so hungry that your stomach almost shrinks and it feels like you can eat a lot when you sit down to eat, but then it
but then you
turns
can't
out you
eat.
really
Yeah,
can't?
lots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
My
Lots.
eyes being bigger than my stomach is the worst feeling.
That is the worst feeling, and it
Yeah.
was terribly exercised when I was in Japan last year. Like everything I saw, I wanted to eat.
Yeah,
I mean,
I can believe
thankfully,
it.
I'm a big guy, so my eyes are not all usually bigger than my stomach. But
Hmm.
that being said, there are definitely times where it's like I've eaten myself to excess where you want to throw up. And like the way I like to describe it is when you're hungry, all you want is food. Like your body wants food, it craves food. It doesn't matter if it's like your favorite food or like your least favorite. Well, it does matter if it's your least favorite food, but I mean in a way that it's food that you don't love, but you would still eat, then you would eat it. But
I'd
when
say
you
that it
are,
makes it worse. It makes
when,
it worse that in Japan there are
yeah.
visual menus everywhere you
Oh, of
go.
course, yeah.
Oh,
That
But
isn't something we really
oh,
do here, but like in Japan it's exacerbated to like the nth degree.
it's just that when you are full, nothing in this world seems appetizing when you are full.
when
That's
you
true.
are that full,
When
at
you are
least.
truly full. So let's say like,
Yeah.
you've had your all you can eat buffet or whatever, and
Oh.
then like, and it was amazing, right? And you're like you're just full, like you're topped up. Someone could
Like
walk by with the absolute best version of your favorite food in the world, whether it's like a dessert or like a little appetizer or a little bit of a meal, and you would be like, "Get that shit away from me. I don't want it."
The worst part is you will not only will you regret not eating it later,
Hmm.
if you did try to eat it, you would just be like, this was an awful idea. I don't like this. I
You would
don't
hate
want
yourself.
this.
You would absolutely hate it.
Yeah, and
You
it would probably ruin your favorite food for you.
I was just about to say
Oh
that.
yeah.
I would just be
It,
like at a certain point, you'd just be like, even if that's not the thing that you had for your meal, if someone came by with the best version of your favorite food at a point where you no longer want to eat, and then you still tried to force it down, there'd be like a psychological like trip that activates that you're just like, nope, never again, not having this food for like years.
and not even just years. I mean, like, really excellent foods have been ruined for me just because I was like the side
You
of
had it
my
at the
brain
wrong
that goes,
time,
but I don't want to waste this food
right?
because it's so good and it is, technically my favorite food. But I shouldn't waste it.
So I think we can agree that eating 100 of your favorite food is a bad idea.
Probably.
Probably.
But
But
what's
what
100
would
of things? What 100 of something would you want?
That's a
$100
really good
bills.
question. What is
Damn
no,
it, Jay,
no.
that's what I wanted to say.
That was no. My answer was gonna be, what is our highest denomination bill? I want 100 of those.
I don't think that $1,000 bills are still in production,
Yeah,
but
we
they did
technically
exist at one point in time.
we technically
and
have
so they would be legal tender.
1,000 and 500s, and I looked into this recently. I can't remember. I think I was looking up American currency. Excuse
Oh.
me. In American currency, there is
They have
actually
the $1 trillion bill.
they have $1 million bill,
Oh,
but
holy
it's
shit.
What?
but it's not
Whoa.
like it's not it was used for like bank transfers, like between financial institutions, essentially,
Okay.
and it
Oh.
was
I was
never
just
properly in
referencing
circulation
a
and
Simpsons
stuff.
joke.
Yeah.
But it's legal tender, right? Like you can cash it in at a bank.
You would get into probably a lot of trouble for cashing it in as a
Ugh.
civilian, I would assume. So, like, you're right that it's legal tender by definition, but you wouldn't ever expect
People
anyone to
would
use it or spend it.
suspect you.
People
Yeah.
would ask a lot of questions.
I do remember though when I was a kid, we used to have 50-cent pieces, and we still technically do. I tried to
Mhm.
pay with something with a 50-cent piece when I was a kid, and they were like, "That's not real." I'm like, "Look at it. Look how it says Canada, and like it's got like the
Multiple times.
queen."
I went to the store with the 50-cent coin, and I got myself 50 pieces of penny candy.
Nice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. It's interesting. So it depends on who's taking the cash at the time.
I would accept 100 pieces of penny candy.
Well, that's the thing.
That's
It's like
that's a if I could have 100 or something, I would take that immediately.
if you went
Yeah.
to any store today and tried to pay with a $2 bill, most of them would tell you to leave, or they wouldn't
Most-
take it, or something.
Yeah, most of them would
I tell 'em to
probably not
Wikipedia it.
recognize it.
I tell them
Yeah.
to fucking Wikipedia it on their cell phone.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Angelo's in the background setting up a Wikipedia page about this fictional $3 bill.
Oh yeah. Actually, that's the thing that not for currency, but
A $3
there was
bill
this
would be
guy
awful, actually.
a
What
few
you need
years
is a $250 bill. Like $2.50 so that
Uh-huh.
4 of them make
a
$10.
toonie and a bit. Uh, a
Yes.
few years ago at an outdoor concert, I think it took place. I want to say it was in the States, but it might have been in Europe. A guy wanted to go backstage to meet the band that was playing, so
Mm-hmm.
he went on the Wikipedia page of the band, edited himself in as a family member, and then like when he went up to
What?
like the bodyguard, or the security guard that was at like the back entrance, and it was like at first he was like, "Oh, I don't believe you." And he's like, "Dude, it's on the internet, like it's on Wikipedia," and I
That's
guess the guy's just not very bright and totally let that happen.
that's a smooth move.
Is it
Wow. But
though?
like, how do you slip
I
that
mean,
into
the
a
amount of
Wikipedia page?
the cojones you would need to even try that, and not only try that, but actually pull it off.
No, pulling it off is not smooth. The security guard was an idiot.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
but to even think of that and try it, I have to respect the hustle.
I feel like it's still something that people could pull a few more times, even though people know Wikipedia is, like sourced by the people. I would say that
But
it's still probably a trick that's like valid. You know what I mean? Like it's not just someone would throw that trick away.
yeah, I could imagine it working, like even today.
Yeah.
But you
Uh,
know what you could use to not have to edit Wikipedia and get the same sort of result? 100 monkey paws.
you mean like to make a wish?
mm.
Yeah, monkey paws.
But
Yeah,
that's
but
the kind of
monkey
dish.
paws always have the really weird
Ulterior-
Yeah,
backfiring.
but like,
Yeah, like dark
if
twist.
you had 100 of them, easily you'd be able to undo whatever horrible things it does.
But why not
You
just
could
go
even
for
undo
a
all of
genie?
2020 so far.
Why not
Yeah,
just
but
go
what
for
if
a
you just
wing?
turned up?
A
What if
genie?
you just end up escalating it to like the nth degree, like a la Rick and Morty style? Like it's just bad things gonna happen.
I mean,
if you
it's
have
only
that
100
many.
monkey paws. How bad could it get?
Well,
Well,
that's
it's a monkey
500
paw.
wishes.
You get 4 wishes, right?
4 wishes or
Uh,
5?
5.
I
thought
don't know how
I
many.
think they have 5 digits,
I was remembering the Simpsons episode. Forgive me.
where everyone has
Yeah.
4 digits, except for God. God
Everybody
has
in the
5
Simpsons
digits,
verse has.
or Jesus.
I
I
don't
think I
know.
can't remember if it was Jesus or God, but one of the holy deities have 5 digits to prove that they are holy. Anyways, that's a
Hmm.
lot of wishes to go wrong. I wouldn't want
Yeah.
any of them.
Especially if you're trying to fix the first wish, it will just end up being 500 wishes of trying to fix the
Right.
oncoming landslide
A
of bad
cascading
things.
error of wishes.
Would you
Yeah,
want
It'd be glorious.
would you want to live 100 additional years to your added to your natural lifespan?
Okay, so natural lifespan, let's say
So what
like
you're saying is I'd be a Numenorian.
You'd
what?
be so you a
Lord of the
Numenorian-
Rings
I know Lord of the
bullshit.
Rings.
Oh, okay.
But Lord of the Rings, they live to be like 700, 800.
Yeah,
So not quite.
Yeah.
Mm,
not quite.
you'd still be
quite.
young by elven standards.
Yeah. But yeah, like let's say for definition's sake, let's say your natural lifespan is whatever the Canadian national average is for your gender is your and then add 100. So
Okay,
Okay.
I would do that if I aged at the new rate.
what do you mean?
Oh, that's a
But
good
if I
point.
aged at the current rate, fuck that noise.
No, you
Yeah.
age at the current rate. You don't get to choose.
Yeah, no.
I don't really
Because
want to look
that'll-
like a mummy.
Like the last 100 years of the life will be like the most frail ass garbage life that you can imagine.
Hmm.
Yeah, if you can even move. Okay, so we're looking at somewhere around 80-ish years.
Because yeah, we're not saying you're immortal. That's not what we're going for, and we're not gonna give you
You're
sort
just
of.
a normal ass person who somehow lives to 180.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that you're like at least fairly healthy, but we're talking about being fairly healthy for a 150-year-old person.
I mean, a 100-year-old who's fairly healthy barely moves around on their own.
It depends. It
Mhm.
really depends on who they are. It's pretty crazy. Like
I
some.
mean,
some people who are 70 don't look nearly as good as some people who are in their mid 80s. It's
If
just
Well,
it
my
were
grandfather,
me,
he looked like he was in his 50s up until his 70s.
yeah,
oh,
there you go.
And then from 70s onward, it was a very fast downward slope.
I'm sorry to hear
oh,
that.
I'm so sorry to
But
hear
hey,
that.
Oh, he's
that's
still alive. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
well, we'll
that's
just add
great.
the
That
100 to
actually,
him and see how well he does.
yeah.
He would not like that.
Maybe if I had 100 extra years to live, I'd just distribute it to the people I love. Maybe.
That's like
What if you
that.
could give
I
it
can't
away
tell if
though?
that's a sweet wish. Hold on. With Nancy's thing, I can't tell if that's really sweet because I can't tell if she loves a lot of people or she loves very select people. Is it going to be like, if she only loves like 4 people, then they get 25 years each. But if she loves 100 people, they get an extra year. It's like,
If you can
all
give it
right.
to someone else though, what about giving all 100 to someone you really hate?
Oh,
So they
easily.
can stick around to be. Well, are you forced to live for the full 100 years, or is that just extra lifespan? What if, like, other things can still kill you, like freak
Like I said, you're not
incidents?
immortal. Like you would die from like a wound, but
All right.
like I'm
So it's
saying
not
that you
really a
wouldn't you
hundred
wouldn't
extra
you
years of
wouldn't
living.
stroke out and
Yeah,
you
no.
wouldn't have like a heart attack.
If it
You
doesn't force them to live, giving it to someone
yeah.
else is yeah.
Yeah, that's why I think I would just, like, distribute it to, people I love.
Oh, but like I don't know. I think the only really altruistic way of doing anything like that is really like going to a children's hospital and
Ooh,
distributing it there because it's the only way I can think of that's sort of like
that's like
there's some
extra life to
justice.
the max.
That's some justice there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd do that.
But let's not
Go to
try
the
to
children's
try not to
hospital.
get too sad there.
Oh
But I,
man.
I would
Find
say
some
that's
child who's beating the odds.
yeah.
They were like, yeah, the doctor said I only had 1 year to live,
But
like two
now I've
years
got
ago.
two.
And then so you give them like 1 year of life,
Hey,
and then
every
they
year
just
counts, I
die.
think, at that point.
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
is on the
Well, here's
100?
the problem.
Yeah.
If it's not forcing them to live, giving it to someone who's sick doesn't increase their chances.
It depends, right? Because it'd be like, what if there's a new treatment that's available in 6 months?
Ooh, that's a
But
good
if they're
point.
dying like in 4 months, it doesn't
Oh yeah,
matter if
like
they
of
could
course if you've
potentially
like
live for
if
another
you
year
have
and a
found
half.
like there are some seriously bad diseases out there, guys, like some seriously
Like
bad
Ebola.
conditions. And like if you have, I don't know, you're just born with a congenital defect of some kind and you're just like suffering. You don't want to be like, here's an extra 3 years on me, kid.
Oh no. Oh
Yeah.
no.
Ooh, that
Like
took a
that's
dark
real bad.
turn.
So you have to be judicial, but you also have to be kind. And kindness might mean that they only have so much time, and some other kindness might mean you can have a little bit more. And that would be
So,
nice. It's
speaking of choosing who gets to live and die, do you
Imagine how
guys
much
have?
wow.
anime they could watch.
Are you telling
Yeah, actually,
They could watch something that's over 100 episodes long.
what? Okay, so I confess that I have never really watched a lot of series that are that long. I don't think, like, barring Legend of Galactic Heroes, which I've only just started dipping into. Like, I don't think I've
I
actually
actually
watched that
had to
many.
Google to find some anime that I have watched that are over 100 episodes.
right?
What are some
And all of
good
them, I
ones?
know that I haven't watched every episode.
How
But
do
you know
you
what?
No, but we
not
could also say
watch?
you could also just say like these are
Because
good series that are long series. Like for
a lot
example,
of these series were things that I started watching on
uh-huh.
TV, and the whole thing never got localized.
Oh, I guess does Sailor Moon count? Sailor Moon's got multiple
Yes.
seasons.
Yeah, Sailor Moon.
If you
Sure.
That's
go with
fine.
the original Sailor Moon localized for North America in the 1990s, it was 200
Yeah.
episodes.
Really? They
Yes.
localized that many into a
They didn't
bad cut
localize
and
that
slice?
many. They
And I
didn't localize
Mm.
that many,
I
but that's how many episodes there were.
I don't care
Well,
who criticizes. I've said it before. One Piece is still a pretty good show. It's at
you have
929
mentioned
episode
that. So, okay,
at least.
can you tell me what's so compelling about it that you keep watching it? Like,
Do
you
you
know,
okay? So of the shonen shows that are out there, right? Like you've got like Naruto, you've got Bleach, you have Dragon Ball. What else you got? Doesn't really matter, does it? I guess like that is the idea of those, right?
Sure.
I've never watched Bleach, but I have seen a fair amount of
Bleach
Naruto.
was almost 300 episodes.
Yeah, and I never watched Shippuden, but either way, like I watched a fair amount of Naruto before I stopped, and then I watched a fair amount of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z was 291
Yeah,
episodes.
but the difference in One Piece is the writing. They care to build their characters. So, for example, while we sort of know where like Goku comes
Are
from, for
are you
example.
suggesting that Goku just yelling for 20 minutes every episode isn't character development?
No. Like the only characters that you know
How
where they
dare!
the only characters that you know where they come from sort of in Dragon Ball I find is characters who are children who are born or like again they start off young and then you see them grow. Like Gohan for example has good character development, but it's only because we see him grow. Piccolo helped Gohan grow, but Piccolo was also an old character in the original Dragon Ball, so again, it's natural to see that growth. In One Piece,
The
even though
Piccolo that you see in Dragon Ball Z is a different Piccolo than King Piccolo in Dragon Ball, though.
uh technically yes, but they are also the same character.
Yes.
Okay, so
But
back to your
anyways,
point.
so
Back to
One
your
Piece
point.
in One Piece, you will know the backstories of your pro tags, so the main Straw Hat crew. You know the backstories of your and motivations thereof of many of the villains, some of the side characters that are like important side characters. But yeah, they give histories, and so you know who they are, and also thing like it's fairly light-hearted still. Like, yeah, there are things like, like if I lose, then, it'll be the end of my journey, but it's not like you're fighting for the end. You're not fighting for justice and the whole of the world's existence or the universe's existence. They're fighting for like the ideal of freedom, and that kind of lends its own freedom into how they can write the show. Like they're not no, nothing is at stake except for their own freedom, but they take it that seriously. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yes.
Because the end goal is for Monkey D. Luffy to become the king of pirates. There's a lot of history in there too. There's like sort of a Hunger Games esque world history where like the government actually has erased part of like the history and has replaced it with like a false
A lot
background.
happens over 900 episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look, but it's very emotional. Like it can make you cry, it can make you really happy. There's genuine funny moments.
You
Uh,
know what is 9 times more digestible?
Hmm.
Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh,
I've never seen
I've
that.
been told. I have
Have
been
you?
mentioned to this show many times, but I do not know it because I have not watched it.
It's one of those other great anime from the 90s where it was like a Shonen Jump title. It is quintessentially a shonen anime.
Mm-hmm.
And it follows this group of mostly 4, maybe 5 if you consider one, characters who are basically, they're like the delinquent Bancho
Mhm.
sort of archetype.
Mm-hmm.
Yusuke Urameshi, this sounds cliched as fuck, but it wasn't as cliched back then because it was the 90s. He's an asshole, but he saves a kid from getting hit by a car.
Right.
So like the spirit world is like, hey, do you want a second crack at things?
I am gonna
And
go.
so now he
Yeah.
gets back into like the world. He's got some spirit powers and he does ghost hunting.
Ghost hunting.
Sorry.
And eventually
But,
it goes
like-
into a tournament arc.
Right.
A tournament arc.
Of course, because how can you have an anime, especially a shonen anime, without a tournament arc?
Huh. I mean, that's a point.
Technically speaking, the tournament arc is also isekai.
Huh.
You
No
know what
more-
else
no
is a
more
really
isekai.
great 90s isekai?
No. Don't do this.
Inuyasha.
I forgot Inuyasha.
I was about to
was-
say. So I'm looking through like
Inuyasha is
a quick
absolutely
list.
an isekai.
Yeah.
Well,
Eh.
Inuyasha was pretty iconic for that era of anime. Like
Inuyasha
it
was
got
great.
so many people into anime. It was the
Oh,
gateway
yeah.
drug.
Yeah. I'm watching sorry, I'm not watching. I'm reading through like a bunch of animes that have like well over 100 episodes in their series. I gotta
And
say,
Are you looking at the Wikipedia page?
I'm looking at one Wikipedia page. I don't know if it's the same one, but I will say
There
that
was like
there are some
half of them on there I'd never heard of. And
they're
they had like
like
1,500 episodes.
it is
yikes.
very easily said that not every long series deserves to be good.
Well,
No.
yes.
There's some
That's
stuff up
true.
there that like you know people can have their own taste, but like Hamtaro has 296 episodes.
Really?
Yeah, and it has more episodes
Huh.
than Dragon Ball Z.
Whoa.
The thing about Dragon Ball Z, though, is that you have to include Dragon Ball, you have to include Dragon Ball Z, then you have to go to Dragon
it's just
Ball
a
GT.
yeah, I
Then you have to go to
guess.
Dragon Ball Super.
But I'm saying
Dragon
Hamtaro
Ball Z Kai
alone,
doesn't count because that's just a remaster of Dragon Ball Z.
Hamtaro alone
And the next
having
episode
almost
of
300
Dragon's Ball
episodes is insane.
Pay.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
that is.
like you have like like great classics up there. Like you have Urusei Yatsura, you have Astro Boy that has almost 200 episodes. I don't really know if I
I
want
didn't
to count
realize how many
Pokemon.
different Pokemon variants there were. I
was
didn't
gonna
realize they were
say,
considered different shows.
I mean,
Yeah.
anytime they start a new season and they call it something different, I guess. Like it's probably why Sailor Moon's probably not on this list because I don't think there's
Sailor
any.
Moon is on that list.
Is it?
Control F for Sailor Moon, because I know exactly which list you're looking at.
It could be Sailor Space Moon
Funny
because
thing,
I've seen
the
it
original
amplified that
Yu-Gi-Oh
way.
wasn't on that list,
The
but a
original.
bunch of the
Hmm.
different Yu-Gi-Oh spin-offs were.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Like, I don't
mean,
know how many episodes Yu-Gi-Oh originally had.
Card Fight Vanguard was essentially broken up into like 11 or 12 seasons, but they like if you add them all up together, there's
Mhm.
definitely over 100 episodes of that.
How many episodes were you in?
Lots.
Nice.
Maybe like 50.
Damn.
Yeah, I was a long-running character. Like I was in 2 major story arcs.
Okay.
But I was the bestie, so I wasn't in everything, and I never got the full focus.
You're
It's fine.
Taya.
I have never watched a single episode of Card Fight Vanguard.
Don't worry about
Nancy?
I remember you telling me which character it was, and I
Yeah.
looked her up and I was like, oh, that's a cute character. I could see Nancy doing that.
Nancy, I have a hypothetical for you. Would
Okay.
you rather be part of a series that and like let's say this one like just pays your pays your paychecks kind of thing, right? But you
Okay.
only have a choice of one or the other. You can either do a series that has 500 episodes and you're going to be in each one of them. We're not going to say what character it is. We're not going to say it's the main character or a side character, but you're going to be in each one of these 500 episodes and you're going to be credited as such. Or you have to be in 500 different productions over the course of your next 10 years. With
I
no
would say
idea.
the 500 with no idea what parts I'd play.
Yeah, no idea what part you play and how long that show would be going on for. It's just that you have 500 separate parts.
That sounds like more stable employment.
Yeah, so I would say 500 separate productions / projects, just because definitely more stable income, and also I suspect I wouldn't be locked into a single typecast role. I tend to get like cuter characters because I have a higher voice.
Right.
But yeah, I'd say 500 productions, but also because as an actor, that would probably give me a lot of room to grow in different directions. Like you could get like the kooky ass crazy character.
Right.
I could finally be cast as the bad guy. I could be a protag, whether it's like top tier protag or one of the second or tertiaries,
Right.
whatever. I could also just spend all 500 productions being a fucking side character or an NPC or like whatever.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
like,
I was
There-
thinking when Jay said you could be in 500 episodes of one thing, but you're the same character. It's like, oh god, what happens if you get the position of the cute thing, like the animal mascot?
You're the
Yeah.
Pikachu.
that could happen.
Like imagine
Phew.
the,
Would
the
you
person who
want ever?
voices Pikachu
Yeah.
probably made bank. They've probably bought like multiple houses. off of
Now I
saying,
have to look up the
Pikachu.
voice actor for
And,
Pikachu.
like,
Oh,
That's great, very good for them. At what
I
point do they want to do more with their life?
Well, that's kind of why I chose the 500 productions, because that would be a
Yeah.
lot of growth in different directions.
Uh-huh.
And like, and Jay never mentioned the length of each production. Every production could be something short. It could be like an audio
Yeah,
play.
yeah.
It could be a
It could be a
single
single
video
episode,
game.
yeah, for sure.
Or
If it
could
was
just be like
512
an
episode
OVA.
series,
Mhm.
that's over
500
5,000.
Yeah,
episodes of
500 times
content.
500 episodes. That'd be a lot.
Would
But-
you want to be Oh, Pikachu's
A
voice
cute
actor is
voice?
also Tony Choppers from
Huh.
Oh,
One Piece.
okay.
Oh.
He's the little reindeer doctor guy.
Sure is. I like that character a lot too.
Anyway,
But yeah, like to be
but I also wouldn't
a
object to being
forever
a cute
mascot.
character.
The forever mascot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if I would object to that either, because
It's nice
you
to be
know,
known for like that kind of
I
You
feel
get
like
your-
if it was
get an
all you were
iconic thing.
doing,
Yeah.
it would get old fast. But doing it for a little bit would be like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, pika
And it-
pika, bitch.
totally depends on how fast the production studio gets the 500 episodes out too.
Pika
like,
Pika
could
bitch,
be.
give me my $5,000.
Give me my 500 monkey paws.
Yeah. Pika out.
Getting paid in monkey paws does not sound like a good idea. Just based on every cautionary tale about monkey
Right.
paws I've ever seen,
And-
this sounds like a terrible idea.
Speaking of like terrible ideas, what is something that you've invested over 100 hours in, or like a significant amount of time that you would assume that over 100 hours is pretty easy, that you don't feel like you got a good return on?
Idling
that you
in Team
don't
Fortress
feel
2
a good
servers
return
for
on.
a hat.
What?
Huh?
Do you not remember when TF2 when hats came out
Yes.
Yeah?
and frickin' item drops to begin with?
Yeah.
And so what happened was people would create specific maps that you just sat in doing nothing for hours at a time, and
Yeah. Idle
that
servers.
was it. Just
Yeah.
yeah, it was the dumbest thing ever.
Yes.
I never got a hat, not from doing that shit.
I went into trade servers because I used to want to trade. I finally sold my TF2 inventory.
Oh wow,
Oh, nice.
I got like $140 out of it, which was nice.
god damn.
Ooh.
Like that's not a lot because I know that inventories can go for a lot more. It doesn't matter. I was never hardcore into trading. It was actually something that I found fun because I wanted to make like a good aesthetic for my characters in TF2. But I just
Mhm.
realized that I just don't care to play it anymore. Like I don't want to trade. I don't want to play prop hunt. I don't want to play the normal game. I don't even know if the
I
normal game
haven't
exists
had
anymore.
it installed
Yeah.
for years now.
I've had it installed, but because I used to think that I might want to go back and trade, or I would have to have it installed so I could trade off all my stuff, I ended up not having to do that, and I just made like a bulk trade, and I into keys, and then I got keys turned into money because I sold them on the marketplace, and now I got money, and I bought a couple of games on sale. That's kind of nice of
Nice.
being lots of money in your Steam wallet. It's kind of nice, you know.
Yeah.
But I did play a lot of
Mm.
hours of TF2, so it's kind of nice that it transferred, actually.
I think the very first time I played Final Fantasy X, I did put in like 100 hours. The very first time I played it on the actual PS2 without a strat guide for the bulk of it, and then later turning to a strat guide when I couldn't figure out how to do the rest of it.
Hmm.
That was
That's
100
fair.
hours. Easy. But I wouldn't say that that wasn't really worth it, because to this day it is still one of my favorite stories told in JRPG format.
Hmm.
I put over
Um,
800 hours into Tales of Symphonia, and I don't regret a second of it.
Holy cow.
So,
How?
Well, the first time was playing
Yeah.
with my friend. The second time was still playing with a friend because I didn't have the game yet. The third time was playing it myself. The fourth time was playing with a friend again, but we wanted to 100% the game. And then I wanted 100% the game on my own. And then I
Oh,
did that
geez.
one or two more times. And then I needed to have Dio play the game. So I got it on the PS3. And so we played it together. And yeah, it's just, I love that game.
Damn.
so
Like, I could go start playing it tomorrow and I'd be like, yeah, this is great.
just to put it in perspective, I just looked it up on my Steam account. I put 1,279 hours into Team Fortress 2.
Did you start playing the game at launch?
Yeah, I got the orange box.
Ooh.
At that point in time when Team Fortress 2 launched, Steam didn't track playtime.
Yeah, I know that too. I'm
TF2
Wow.
was like
actually
2 or 3 years old by the time Playtime started to track.
I'm actually fairly sure that I actually have closer to about 3,000 hours in that game. I know this actually because I remember a long time ago checking um, playtime stats for Steam on like a third party website, and they had tracked that for me. But anyways, just using that number, like the 1279 number, which is like, you want to say how accurate it is, because I think I'm actually closer to 3,000 or whatever. I just did a quick calculation from 1279, and I made 140 bucks off of it, which means I made 11 cents per hour playing that game.
Oh
Solid investment.
my god.
That's a decent wage in some third world
It's
countries.
true. I could
Right?
provide for my
A small
my three
family.
oxen and my big family.
Your 3 oxen?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love
Look at
that you
this
used the
baller
proper
over here.
plural form of oxen, by
Thank
the
you.
way.
Yeah, it's the only way to
Um,
be. But yeah,
so I
now
just
that
Motherfucker
remembered
has
now that I've like
3
something.
oxen in
quantified,
his family.
I've just quantified my earning, and I'm just like,
Jesus.
boo. Because again, I'm
Okay,
fairly
so
sure I'm at least in the 2,500 hour range, if not the 3,000 hour range. So it's kind of like I made probably closer to like 4 cents. But that's okay. It's not like
I'm
most
at
of the time I
least
wasn't
over
trying to make a
4,000
profit.
hours in TF2.
Most of the times I wasn't
Okay,
trying to make a profit, so I'm okay with that.
I remembered something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back when I lived in the suburbs, like at the very edge of town, and I had to commute into the center of the city every day and then back out at the end of every day.
Disgusting.
Google Maps location tracking told me at the end of every month how many hours I spent commuting.
Yes.
Oh,
And
Google just
and
recently started doing that to me, like the last
so
4 months.
right. So back when I lived out at the edge of the city, I spent 50 hours ish, like, give or take 4 extra hours or something in there every month just due to commuting. So
Ugh.
basically, what I'm getting at is that my 100 hours spent in the car when I used to live that far out was just 2 months worth of commuting to work.
Right.
Just,
And that's
just
like the
trying
worst
to get to
investment.
and from my
And that's
job.
got to be the worst part
That
because like
is,
you're not making any money. In fact, you're actively spending time and money to get
and
there to
emotional
make money.
tolerance,
Absolutely. Like
the
road rage.
effect of being in a car dealing with all these other cars
Mhm.
and other like very aggressive people. It's like a damper. It's a bad way to start your morning.
Right.
And like easily 100 hours was 2 months of commuting. And yes, absolutely not worth. Not at all.
Mhm.
So, like, my commute isn't even that long. It's like 20 to 30 minutes, depending on traffic. But Google was out there saying, it's like, yeah, you spent 17 hours in your car last month.
Only
And I'm just
17?
only 17 because I don't really drive much outside of for work. And my commute's fairly short. And I was thinking about that and I was like, wait a minute. That's an entire waking day.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
A day of my life was
spent in a
spent
car.
Now,
in my car.
here's something I want to bring up, and I know at least some of my friends that I've discussed this about, but I'm famously known for not driving. It's not like I don't like to drive. It's not like I've never driven, but I don't own a car and I don't drive mainly because I haven't had to in a long time.
And that's honestly great.
I don't hate taking the bus. And people can complain about Calgary Transit. That's not the problem. You can complain about any transit system except maybe for Japan's and Taiwan's.
Yeah.
But like generally speaking, I don't find I find taking the bus to be an okay method of travel, understanding that it takes me longer and understanding that I might miss a connection and those things can be stressful too, but every time I travel regularly, and most of the time I don't really have a problem traveling on a bus, like I make those connections, I know my bus schedules and stuff like that, for example,
Mhm.
I probably have a better experience going to and from work or going to and from places than most people do in cars. Because
So my thing about that is that I never started noticing how terrible it was to drive until my commute got that bad.
right,
But like before I got a car and before I was consistently driving, yeah, transit was the only way I could get around the city.
Hmm.
And for a good chunk of my working years after school, that was how I got to work. And you're right, it's totally a different experience because you're not the one paying attention to the road.
Yeah.
And you really don't need to care about the people around you either. You actually get to use that time
Hmm.
to spend however you want as long as you're not being interruptive with other people.
Unless,
So, like,
yeah,
I played a lot of DS games, I read a
exactly.
lot of books.
Yes. Checking your
If you
cell
have the
phone.
option, if you're in a position
Yeah.
where you can walk to work reasonably, that's the best shit ever.
I also walk
It
to
is.
work.
Plus, it functions as your daily exercise. It's so
Yeah.
nice.
I also have the opportunity to walk to work, which I do take advantage of fairly frequently.
Like, when I
Um,
was living in Okotoks,
yeah.
for me, depending on where I lived at the time, it was anywhere from 30 seconds to a 5-minute walk to work.
It's
And that was the best.
I mean, it's not
I
necessarily just the
bet.
length. Like if it's like my longest walk to work is about 20 minutes. It's not bad at all as long as the weather is good, right? But the only thing is like, you're uh I have nothing against walking to work. I think walking to work, in my opinion, is probably like the best way of doing things if you can. But I think transit is actually a really great way because, like you were saying, Nancy, like you get to do a bunch of secondary stuff. You basically get to relax. The only thing you have to worry about is for some reason if you're late, but you can't guarantee you're not going to be late when you're in a car, either.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing,
Like, the area of town I work in has actual CP rail trains going in and out of it all the time.
right?
People get stopped by that.
And then you're 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, you don't know, and that
Yep.
sucks.
Ah, yes.
And
the
of
good
course,
old clock-sucking train.
when you're in
Yes.
when you're in a bus, obviously you have less control about how late you might be. But on the
Mhm.
whole, again, once you sort of just settle into the idea that you're gonna take a train or you're gonna take a bus and you know the scheduling and all that stuff, it's not really that big a concern. It doesn't happen that often that you're not always gonna be late. Actually, most of the time you're not. But
The
So
only
last
thing.
week I was biking to work,
yeah.
and I got stopped by a freight train.
Ah, yes.
That was the first time I'd got stuck by a train in probably 20 years.
Huh. Aren't you lucky?
Mhm.
Like, I
That's
used
like
to
a
live in
daily
Windsor,
occurrence when I worked
where
at.
getting stuck by a train was a daily occurrence, right over Howard Road, on the school bus every frickin' day.
Uh-huh.
And then it didn't happen for the longest time,
Mhm.
but my dad's a trucker in that region, and so every time he gets stopped by a train, he whips out his phone, he takes a picture of it, and he just posts it to his Facebook wall, and he's like, another clock-sucking train.
Mm.
And this was the first time that it happened to me, and I was on a
So-
bike.
So, did you take a photo of the train and post it to your Facebook?
I wanted to,
You should have continued the
didn't.
family tradition.
but I wanted to.
Yes, maintain the family tradition, as
Mhm.
Jay says. But, like, I would argue that the only detriment to taking transit and scheduling your day around transit is that I don't get to sleep as much in the morning.
I sleep on the
That's really
train.
the only thing I lose out on. I mean, yeah, if you're okay sleeping on the train, but some people aren't comfortable with that.
I sleep on the train. I sleep on buses. And when I
I
was a
don't
kid,
mind the train, but the thing I hate about buses is waiting for
yeah,
them.
when I was a kid, what do you mean waiting for them? If you know what the schedule is, then there's nothing to be waiting for.
So most of this, again, comes from living in Windsor.
Okay.
But the bus system there was so bad, that
Like-
if you needed to transfer a bus,
Right.
sometimes you would get to your new destination, to the midway point, and then you'd be waiting 40 minutes for the next bus you had to transfer on.
That sounds like my high school commute.
There were so many times where I was just like, you know what? I don't like waiting and doing nothing so much. Remember, this was a time before cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to keep like a book in my bag.
Disgusting.
And,
Yep.
yeah. So like I was like, you know what? I could wait for the bus, or I could walk the 10 kilometers.
Hmm.
So 2 hours later, I would get to my destination at the same time the bus that I would have been taking was driving by.
Should have walked faster.
And I felt better about that because at least I wasn't sitting on my ass doing nothing.
Depends on the day. If it's cold, I'd rather be on that bus. But sure, I understand where you're coming from. I just think that there are certain very real benefits of taking transit as opposed to having to drive yourself. Because I would say that aside from missing a bus or a connection, which again is not that often, then I'm largely not responsible for what happens while I travel, and therefore I can kind of just relax. Like it's the same thing as taking a bus ride out to, like a tour bus or a longer train ride or something like that. Like it's just not up to
I'll
me.
throw
You
another
know what I mean?
one. I'll throw another one in there.
Yeah.
I hate dealing with parking.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's fair.
parking, yeah.
Especially like there's a certain type of anxiety that I get, and it comes from
Parallel.
not looking like it's a type of dread. I
Right.
dread like the eventual I have to deal with the fact that I don't know where I'm going that well, and to compound it, I don't know where the best places to go to park are. So I'm going to be wasting time when I get there anyway, circling around, finding where parking is, finding a free spot
Right.
once I figure out where parking is. Like, it's just such an extra multiplier of anxiety for me.
Hmm.
It's just not worth it. If I can take the train in to downtown, it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it sort of just works for you. I know some people would rather die than not drive, and I understand that as well. I like the freedom of it. I used to bike a lot, and I would also prefer biking. Biking to me is sort of the same as driving in that you have a lot more control, but you also have a lot more flexibility with biking. Like parking is not nearly as much of a problem. The only problem is sometimes your bike gets stolen. Like my last four
You
bikes
Yes.
just
that
have
I've
to chain your
the
bike
last
to
four
whatever you can
bikes I've
find.
owned have been stolen.
Oof.
Boo.
So
I'm lucky that I can just park my bike in the warehouse at work.
yeah, I haven't owned a
But
bike in years, so I'll get
Yeah,
back
I
to it
haven't
one day.
either.
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
biking though.
I like walking, and I've been, trying to figure out exactly how long it would take for me to walk to work. And I'm because I have short legs, I suspect it's actually closer to an hour, which is the exact amount of time it would take if I just took the bus anyway.
If I were to walk to work, it would take me about 3 hours. But to bike it takes me about 40 minutes.
The
That sounds about
fastest I
right.
ever made it home from work was on an e-bike or an e-scooter, and I made it in 6 minutes flat.
Nice. So the only reason I'm able to bike to work is because I have the e-bike conversion kit on it,
Right, like you were
and
saying.
that shit is thoroughly good.
Do you think you just can't keep up at roughly 25 kilometers an hour?
It's not that I can't pedal fast enough. It's that I'm really out of shape,
I
and
am
there's
also out
hills.
of shape.
But that's where you got to put the work in, my boy. The assistance isn't helping you get out of shape. The assistance is so you're leaning on.
Honestly,
I don't
after
care.
being
It's
in
it's
Japan for a
making
couple
it
of weeks,
possible for me to bike to work at all.
Fine.
huh,
It's
true
a
enough.
if it helps, it helps. I actually have nothing against e-bikes so much as I
Like
just like
it
Hmm.
biking
gets
normally.
me a reasonable amount of cardio
Yeah.
while also making it so I don't have to drive.
That's fine. And not
Yeah.
driving just seems like the way to go now.
Yeah, but we don't really live in a city that's conducive to that. I was about to say that like I like biking and I have the availability to bike because where I live and there's a lot of bike paths around me and bike lanes,
Mhm.
but like
Mhm.
we do not live in a bike-friendly city, no matter how many amenities we try to make to it.
That's why I'd rather stick
The
with
bike paths
like
are
just
really
being a
nice,
pedestrian.
actually.
You'd rather just stick to be a foot pedestrian?
Yeah, I would.
But it's hard to get things done like that.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
problem.
you're not wrong.
Yeah. I would,
Plus I'd have to start like transporting everything in a backpack anyway,
right.
like regardless which way I chose to go to work, but I'd have to start like lugging everything with me in a backpack. I can't just like carry stuff in my hands.
Yeah. I would love to visit like Amsterdam or something like that one day. I believe they're very bike friendly there, and I would love to
Mhm.
see a more bike friendly culture because like Japan and Taiwan, well, Japan is not necessarily bike friendly. They use bikes, but they're not exactly specifically infrastructure heavy on bikes. And in Taiwan, it's mostly like scooters, like not like scoot, but like
Like
Vespas.
mopeds.
Yeah, mopeds.
Yeah.
So not exactly the same. Like it's not that people don't bike, but it's very heavily based on motor scooters. So I'd like to see what biking economy sort of looks like, biking infrastructure, you know? It'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
It would
Yeah.
be nice.
Mhm. Uh, I don't know if we have anything else that we really want to talk about.
Did I overrun either of you in a story that you'd like to share?
No, I think we're good.
I don't want
I
to.
This has
think
been an exceptionally calm
It
episode. I'm
has
not
been.
sure what's going on.
Well, it's because we're
because
probably
we're just like,
we're recording a lot later than we usually do. This is nighttime
I also
energy.
don't have the extra stress of crocheting a blanket
That helps.
riding on my mentality.
Um, Before we end, I'd like to thank again to our listeners that have stuck with us, whether it's just at the con or at the podcast or any other thing that we do. Everything we do, we like to do it for the community. So, um, you know, we're always just trying. And I know in these times where things are crazy and things aren't happening, our events aren't happening, this is kind of the only thing we have to reach out with right now. So I'm really happy to be a part of that effort. And on a more personal note, I'd like to dedicate this episode to my dad. Um, Things have been a little bit tough in 2020 for me, personally speaking, and he is not doing so well, and we expect him to be moving on soon, but that's okay. It's been a long time coming. But like all things, we survive our families and we survive by our friends. So this one's for you, Dad. Thanks for listening, guys.
this is Angelo signing out.
Good night from Nancy.
See ya. Till the next one. And there will be a next one.